Hey guys, intro, welcome back to the channel. So, guys, New Year, New Me is a slogan for a lot of people. Now, in Australia, a lot of people would be coming up to their NDIS plan. Guys, there's a lot of evidence collecting, a lot of report writing, a lot of even collecting evidence from family and friends, from doctors, mental health professionals, um, teachers, study, occupational therapists, which I know are very thin on the ground. Um, but let's talk about the elephant in the room. I'm seeing over on TikTok and Rumble a lot of people saying two things. One, I can see where they're coming from, but my values and my experience don't line up with this. Is they're saying that self diagnosis is valid. Um, I am a huge advocate of getting properly and medically diagnosed because self diagnosis can be fundamentally dangerous. I have a playlist on why I disagree with that because I have had medically trained doctors misdiagnose me. And so, without the scientific and critical thinking training, and if you're on sites like Tumblr, and Reddit, where people may not necessarily be putting the full story up or talking about different countries, and different countries will have different key markers. I go, no. I can understand in countries that don't have a universal health system, that don't have a universal care system, self diagnosis may be the only route, but that's the thing. There needs to be a gatekeeping in the disability community. Now, my next one that leads into self diagnosis, the new year, and new plans, new care schemes is goal setting. Because I'm seeing a lot of harm in the disability community by well meaning people, particularly friends and family, saying to people with a disability, you can achieve anything you want. Sorry, bullshit. Bullshit. I am calling it now. People with a disability, depending on their level of function, can't achieve anything they want. Someone who's in a wheelchair can't run a 5K marathon on their feet. Someone with ADHD and a brain damage may not be able to work full time. So, this is where we need to stop setting people up for failure. Um, that's the thing of saying, oh, well, with the right supports, I can help you achieve that from support workers is dangerous. And I've seen it mainly being independent support workers seeing an opportunity to earn a steady income by pushing that person through uni, through TAFE, through another organisation. Not discounting that that person with a disability might be capable of doing the work, but who at the end of the day is doing the assignments, who's doing the work. And so that then becomes an issue of academic integrity. And I see a lot of schools, universities, TAFE, trade colleges are actually requesting handwritten assignments. So who's writing those assignments? If they've got to be written in class and you need adaptive technology, are you going to be left behind? Are you going to have the accommodations in time? And I know that there's a lot of university professors, because the Disability Services Department has got so bureaucratic, they're saying, hey, come to me, the accommodations are going to be between you and me, and then we'll go to student services. And even then, when you've got people like Dr. Jordan Peterson saying that unless it's something like a lawyer, teacher, psychologist, psychiatrist, medicine, don't go to university, go to trade school and learn a trade. And there's plenty of jobs where you can learn and work the ranks. And also, the other thing is don't discount online learning. So, courses like Allison, LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, even Khan Academy if you have learning blogs and are capable of study. And I don't say this to disappoint people, but I say it as a reminder to support workers, caregivers, family, and friends that by saying to someone, hey, have you really thought this through, is actually giving them a massive kindness as well. So I've been listening to some really great podcasts. Shout out to Alexis Ferdinand at Do You Effing Mind, Dr. Jordan Peterson and Michaela Peterson with their podcast. I've been particularly listening to, and I'm going to finish it, the one talking about regenerative medicine, which is counterintuitive. And I've always been a little bit alternative for the Americans, crunchy. And I'm starting to get back into brewing kombucha and baking my own bread. And so they might be things that you can pursue more so than the mainstream. I'm going to go back to school or I'm going to find a new job. More realistic for me is I'm going to clean on a regular basis. I'm going to keep myself organised. I'm going to keep up with the recording schedule. I'm not going to go spending money that I don't need to. And as part of getting that organised, guys, I've got bottles and jars that I'm going to send in to the day centre tomorrow. And so, guys, that's the other thing with schools, guides and scouts going back, day centres, childcare. That's where you can drop bottles. I know in Australia we've got like a recycling program, but they're like coffee bottles and things that pantry staples have come in for activities. Just ring ahead or email, see if there's any allergies, because I know sometimes like things like with nuts, eggs, or soy sauce, they can't accept it unless it's been cleaned to a professional level. And then I've got a bunch of clothes that are going to family and friends as well. I'm also having some support workers pass along clothes as well. And they're never expensive and they're never bribery. It's just, hey, thought of you with this is your style. It'll be going to the op shop anyway. Here, and that happens more often than you would think, quite quietly. But guys, with disability and goal setting, we need to be realistic. Coming back to the NDIS plans, it's always what is reasonable and necessary for that person. So for me, it's reasonable and necessary to keep living in a cell house. It is reasonable and necessary for me to keep going to the community centre, the community access service that I use, because that is choice and control. Um, this is the thing that I'm seeing a lot of support workers infantilizing people with a disability and protecting them from the consequences of their actions. How can someone learn from failure, from the disappointment, from the rejection, if they are always protected from that? Disability does not give you a free pass to be an asshole. And that's part, weirdly, of the key reason of why I am against self-diagnosis. Because if you're self-diagnosing and then unmasking and doing the stereotypical movie behaviour, you're then putting those who have gone through the process, who've gone through the budgeting, who've crowdsourced to get the diagnosis, you're doing them a massive disservice by doing those stereotypical behaviours, especially online on places like Tumblr, Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. I've seen less of it on Rumble because Rumble seems to be a very educated platform. And look, don't get me wrong, I understand that sometimes self diagnosis is the only route for someone. But the harm that people are doing by faking service animals, faking emotional support animals, and a few other things that I will do a separate video on. We need to remember the disabled community is at high risk of harm, abuse, neglect, and trauma. And when I say the disability community, I don't just mean people with a disability themselves. I'm saying family, friends, caregivers, and those who run disability service centres, community centres, and disability outreaches and inclusion groups because of self-diagnosis. Um, so that's why it has been, with the NDIS, so paperwork heavy. And I've seen a lot of people over on TikTok ranting about they've spent all of this money getting diagnosed, thinking that they could get help, and then banging up against the NDIS brick walls because their conditions aren't considered a disability, or they're too high functioning, or it's they can't prove the functional impact of that disability, or it's considered a health condition. So therefore, the health or education department, the NDIS is pushing back to the responsibilities that should have always stayed within the health, education, state, and council services. And I know private industry, particularly in my area, which is Toowoomba, we've got one shopping centre, shout out to Clifford Gardens Shopping Centre, who are taking up the mantle of the Sunflower Lanyard program. So for those of you who don't know, the sunflower is the international symbol for hidden disabilities. So that's things like autism spectrum disorder, brain damage, chronic illnesses, chronic pain, mobility issues where you're not using a mobility aid. Basically, that disability or impairment is hidden. So they have offered centre-wide, regardless of the retail, training and support to retailers to be able to support people with a disability. This shopping centre is all on one level as well, and so it makes it easier to navigate for people who are mobility aid users. There's everything you need. The food court at the entrance has a water bottle fountain and a hand wash station that's a relic from COVID. They've still left it there because they realised a lot of the disability community would grab a meal from one of the food outlets, sit down in the food court because they have an hour of free internet, work, study, edit, whatever it might be. They're out, they're around with people, and this is where visibility does matter. As disability gets more visible, so there is no shame in having a support worker, in having someone in a uniform. I would actually prefer that because if I get separated from that person, people can get me back to that person if I've got dizzy, if I needed to sit down, if someone's needed to go to the toilet, if I've wandered off because I'm manic. So, guys, this is where being an accurate representation of the disability community matters. And so that is partly the reason why I'm against self-diagnosis as well. But guys, let's be kind to each other because sometimes that is the only option. But guys, let's the goal setting is something that I didn't know until I started planning out this video and recording it, is something that I am so passionate about, because I will do an entirely different video on this one, is that I have been put in that situation of being set up for failure by a support worker as well. And so this is the thing of knowing the language to use, knowing the redirection, knowing what that person is capable of. And so suggesting maybe if they want to go back to uni, they try an online short course, because not only is there the study factor, there's the discipline, there's the organisation, the executive function for getting new concepts. And if they get frustrated with activities of daily living, so that might be meal planning, cooking, cleaning, dressing, how are they going to maintain a 2 or 3 year course? So, guys, I know this has been a bit of a heavier one as well. So, guys, if you can like, share, subscribe, comment, because, guys, 80% of you, particularly my international viewers, are unsubscribed. Come on, guys. My main goal for this channel this year is to spread awareness and to get monetized, because then I can level it up. I can have a support worker come in and edit. We can plan more. I can put a lot more effort into the podcast as well. So plug for the podcast, Enabling Lives Conversations around the NDIS. I've got some really exciting episodes planned as well. So I've got religious trauma and disability, which is the most current one as well. And guys, I do also have the Patreon. I've put the behind the scenes of the latest video up and some bloopers as well. Because, guys, these do not happen in one take at all. That's the thing, that because I'm in a cell house, essentially, I have to manage privacy as well. So I've got the Patreon, and I am in the process of getting permission to do the live streams. Let me know if you want me to do it on YouTube or Twitch or Facebook. Let me know what suits as well. So, guys, if you can like, share, subscribe, comment. With the podcast, if you're a podcast follower, listener, if you can leave Spotify a review, because that analytics really do help creators as well. Guys, I'll see you guys in the next video.